a sense of community when you're free. Rolling through the mountains, rolling through the valley, rolling through paradise with me.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Small Talk. Well, for last Valentine's, there was something sent to me on Messenger, and it was a little video that said something special for you, and it was of a cat coughing up a fur ball, courtesy of today's guest, artist Norman Dawson from Nova Scotia. Welcome to the show, Norman.
Thank you, Nancy. Glad you enjoyed that fur ball.
I love people with a good sense of humor. There's nothing better. So now tell me about your artwork.
Well, in what respect?
Well, what do you use? What mediums do you use? Let's start there.
Well, I use oils and watercolors, and the reason for that is that's how I kind of learned to paint, and the reason that as a young man, I had the good fortune in Vancouver in the 1970 or so. Gilbert Conqui, who was Salvador Dali's assistant, set up a studio in Vancouver.
Wow.
And we became friends. And he showed me all of the oil medium techniques that he was using to do the underpainting for Dali's paintings. So I learned those techniques and just kept at them. And then watercolors, I was particularly inspired by Dürer, the German painter's watercolors. And I thought, well, I'd never seen watercolors like that. That must be a bit challenging. And I thought, well, I'd like to be able to paint that kind of style with watercolors as well. So I began to just work towards experimenting and using the watercolors to produce some techniques kind of similar to oils, where I would glaze the watercolors like you would a traditional oil painting. So yeah, and just recently, for the very first time ever in my life, I had these acrylics kicking around, and I was going to start an acrylic painting, and then I just abandoned it and said, nah, there's a reason I didn't like those acrylics. They're very plasticky feeling to me, and I don't like the feeling of them. So people say, well, I don't know why you don't paint in acrylics. These oils are so toxic. And I said, I've been painting with them for 50 years. So
yeah, and you're not eating it.
and I'm not dead yet.
Yeah, it's interesting because recently I had an artist. He came here to do an interview, and for him it's the same thing. He preferred the oils. He didn't. I don't think he's done any watercolor. I tried it, but I find it very hard to control. So I haven't learned any of those techniques. But one of the questions I want to ask is, were you one of these people that as a little lad was always drawing things?
Well, I was really as a boy, I loved beauty, and I had again, the good fortune in my family. My father's very good friend was Sammy Birch, who was a well-known Vancouver sculptor.
Okay.
His sculpting of the killer whale still hangs in the Vancouver Aquarium, and so Sammy, showed me lots of things as a kid, and he always was doing something in the arts, and later as a young man. Sam and I became actually very good friends, and so yeah, it's passed on now. But yeah, so I had those kind of auspicious moments, and when I was around 10, I was in living in the north side of Port Moody, called Pleasant Side, and close to Ioko. And one of the neighbors had tickets to go see the Russian ballet, who at that time had Nureyev and Fontaine dancing in it, and I went, and then for the first time I was super inspired. I thought, wow, that's amazing that it's like you can, it's like a living painting, and with the sets and the colors and the light and the movement, and that really inspired me, and that's how I kind of got interested in theater. Got interested in theater, and when I moved to Vancouver, I had a great drama teacher, and I was very interested in the theater. So by the time I was 17, I wrote a play, a one-act play that won the BC High School One-Act Drama Festival, and then went on to win the BC Adult One-Act Drama Festival. And then it was entered into the Canadian One-Act Drama Festival, which was sponsored by the Du Maurier Cigarette Company at the time.
Right.
I was 17, and
wow.
So when they came to do the awards, the adjudicator, whose name was Guilty Bunch, interesting name.
Yeah.
And he came out very gingerly. He had this trophy in his hand. And he said, well, the winner of the festival is actually this young man's play. And however, there's a conflict with our sponsor because he is not an adult of age. And I think they didn't want to have some kid represented with the Du Maurier Cigarette Company.
Oh, right.
So the second prize winner was Leonard Cohen, who his play, and yet I don't think Leonard's play was ever produced outside of that festival. I don't think it's kind of got probably lost in the tomb somewhere. I'm sure his family must have that kicking around somewhere if he kept it. But those are the days, back in the 1960s.
Wow. That's so interesting.
Yeah, so that play got me into a lot of trouble. I was asked to leave school because of the play. They thought it was subversive, and they thought I was the head of the literary magazine at school. So when the literary magazine would come out, there'd be an uproar because I was accosted by the physical education teacher.
Wow.
Grabbed me by the collar, threw me into a locker, and said, he had the copy of the Quill magazine in his hand, and said, I know that poem you wrote was about me. And I said, I know it wasn't about you. And then another, so my writing was controversial. And so they dragged me and my drama teacher before the school board. And at the end of the day, I wasn't able to go to any school in Vancouver. And then they suggested that I try Burnaby, because they said, oh, Burnaby South High School has a drama program. And of course, when I got there, they had phoned ahead and said, you don't want this guy in, it's trouble. And so my poor, unfortunate drama teacher, who supported me, this amazing guy, supported me, and he couldn't teach anywhere except in a boys' school outside of Winnipeg by the end of the day for him.
Wow.
Because they associated him as a subversive as well, you know?
Yeah.
So those are the days, the 60s, where they were fearful of communism here, even, you know, in Vancouver. They had taken sections of my play and redacted them and took them out of context and said, you know, this is, what do you mean by this line here? This is communist and da-da-da-da-da.
That's
so,
yeah.
Which, you know, it was actually humorous. It was, you know, supposed to be humorous, but they didn't see things they didn't have a very good funny bone. Very straight-laced, dark suits, gray hair, old pendants.
Hypocrites.
So yeah.
Wow, that is so fascinating. At the same time, you know, I think about where we are today, you know, in comparison, right?
Yeah, it's a very different time, and you know, it's not unusual for artists to come across opposition, you know, but you know, the good thing of all of that was that Nini Baird, who was at that time the communications director at Simon Fraser University, which was a new university at the time,
okay,
saw the play at the Canadian One Act Drama Festival and loved it, got a hold of me and said, would you come up to the university? And I said, yeah, well, great. And the university in those days didn't have a theater program. What they did was they contracted outside directors. They contracted John Giuliani, who had the Savage God Theater Company in Vancouver at that time. And they contracted Jason Vanderveen, who was became a good friend as well. And they contracted me to direct Jackie Crossland's first play. You know, Jackie was just a student those days,
right?
At the university, and I met her in the lobby of the theater, and we became very good friends. You know, Jackie was a doll, and she was in a straight relationship at that time with a guy called Jose, married to a guy called Jose, and hadn't found out that she was gay yet.
Right.
And yeah, but she had written this play, The Orient Express, and she showed it to me in the lobby of the theater. And she said, well, I showed it to John Giuliani and he wasn't interested in it. And I said, let me read it.
It's really interesting, you know. I mean, this is why people I find so fascinating. You know, your journey is really intriguing to me, right? Did you also were you also a sculptor? Oh, you can't.
No, well, I'm out here. That's why everything just gone dark here.
Pardon?
Can you still hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
I just lost my power in the house.
Oh, no.
Not great.
Yeah, I can still hear you.
But it went to data, so I'm okay.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I just wondering because were you also a sculptor?
No. So all of my, but I as a writer and painter, really, that's where I have focused most of my attention. You know, I've written poetry and I've written still to this day. You know, I write poetry and I still write for the theater.
Okay.
I'm working now with the fellow in Paris who is a composer, Martin Engels from he's originally from San Francisco, but he's lived in Paris for the past 30 years, and so we are working on a musical piece of theater
Nice.
And I've just written this play called Godspot. Never let the devil know you're coming.
Very
But
interesting.
it's about a
Go ahead.
it's
Sorry.
a gnarly, twisted tale.
I want to see if I can bring up a photo of yours that well, you mentioned the talk show, but it wasn't about you mentioned the show, but I just want to show people the photo of your what was it called? The Hungry Ghost. Hopefully people I don't know if people
That's a paint. Yeah, that's a painting that I'm just working on.
okay. I just
Yeah, that's a watercolor that
it's
that
amazing to
I'm
me because it doesn't look like watercolor.
no
There we go.
people
Ah,
don't think that my watercolors are watercolors.
I'm just trying to get it so the lighting is good. Wow.
Yeah,
That is
so that's a painting in progress.
right.
Um, I don't know if you've seen. I've got a finished painting. Can I send it to you?
Yes.
How do I do that? Through Facebook Messenger?
No, send it yeah, send it on Facebook and I'll get it here and I can share it. It's just it's hard to show people like the light hits my phone doesn't give it a good lighting, but
Yeah. So what I'll do is
okay, just bringing that up. So just while we're waiting for that to the audience, it's just so many people. I say this all the time. There's so many people that are multi-talented. I thought I was going to talk to somebody who basically was a painter, but obviously is a painter, but he's also a playwright, which is really intriguing. Sorry about his lighting; it's so dark because he's no has no
yeah,
power.
I don't have power right now, so
He has no power, but he's still on the show, so that's cool.
still on the show. Amazing. That's a good thing. I went on my tablet.
Yeah, for sure. Otherwise, you'd be completely gone. Hey, buddy,
Yeah,
everybody. Speaking of the way, normally we're at the time change today or sometime during the night, and
that's right.
normally, yeah, normally it's posted everywhere, but I didn't see anything about it. I get up this morning, my clock says one thing, but then my computer said something else. It's like, oh, time change. Nobody notices. Okay, so
So I sent you the. I hope you got that.
oh
I
yes,
sent
yes.
you.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. That's wow. Oh, okay. Now see how bad the lighting is? I don't know how to get it
Yeah,
to show.
yeah. It's kind of washing it out.
Yeah. This is so well, it's on what's it called? It's on Facebook, is it?
I no, it was just on my. I might have posted it on Facebook sometime, but that painting is entitled
That's the best people.
"Green: The Power of Green Terror Resuscitating Christ."
Um, that's really intriguing. It really is. Excellent. Are there artists in your family?
No, I'm the only artist in the family.
Oh, okay. What I was thinking about is like when you were talking about what happened with your play and how you were like this, what the school did to you. How did your parents react?
Well, my my mother was always super supportive. My mother and father had divorced when I was 17, and so my father was living back in Nova Scotia here.
Okay.
Well, the rest of our family was living in Vancouver. So we were, but my mother was devastated by the divorce,
Okay.
and out of that is how I learned to cook
No, there you
because
go. Another talent.
because I had to take over the cooking for the family for the kids because my mom was in her bedroom for about 3 months, just devastated by
Right.
that divorce, and in a deep depression. Um, Normally, my mother was a very vivacious, good-humored, beautiful spirit,
Right.
So
It hit her.
I got a lot of my color, and from my mother, a great sense of humor. And so I definitely got that from my mom.
Good. So at what point did you move to Nova Scotia?
Well, I moved here just about 4 years ago, just because I was living in out by Cultus Lake. I bought a house out there, and
Oh,
my friend Joe was here, and I had been here in the early '80s, because my father was a commercial fisherman, and I would go out and commercial fish with him. And yeah, so I was here about 1981. I was here. I originally came here in 1967 when my dad he built several steel seine boats and brought them through the Panama Canal and out to a place called Caracat, New Brunswick, where he fished out of. So I would come up and fish the summer with him, and and make some money, and
yeah.
but yeah, it was very devastating for that breakup for my mom, and so that's basically our family. I came from a commercial fishing family, basically, and it was these kinds of auspicious moments, like Sammy Birch being a very, very dear friend of my dad's, and they became very estranged after the divorce. I think Sam took my mother's position, and so he was still very close to our family, and like I said, Sam and I became very, very good friends as well. And he was teaching at the Vancouver Art School, and he would tell me to come down, and he would get live models, just come down and draw. You don't have to. And so that's how I don't have any formal education, so except for the people that I was exposed to, like Gilbert Conqui, and of course other artists, Vancouver artists like Michael Malcolm, Chris Blades. We were very, very good friends. Still are.
Nice. Yeah, that's nice.
And their work inspires you as well. We were very cutting edge kind of young guys. At that time, I started first improvisational theater company.
Get out.
In Western Canada.
Wow.
Maybe in Canada, because I wasn't familiar with the Toronto area, but definitely the very first one in Western Canada, and out at Simon Fraser University when I was there. And we did, Jackie was part of that troupe, and Glenn Pearson, Jim Fox, who's passed away from AIDS. And there was and we did some, what I would do in those days was I would create pieces. I would write something and then gut it, and then improvise it with a number of things that we kind of would rehearse, but then improvise.
I love
so we would sometimes we would develop characters very much like they do now with Second City or Saturday Night Live, where characters are developed as sketch pieces, and we would do that. We did that before anybody was doing it. And,
I've done improv, but not that kind.
A very and we would get the audience to come up and participate on stage. It was very fun. And,
a lot of fun. I enjoyed it so much. Yeah, I did it for a number of years. Then COVID came along, and we had to close down, right? But and then I started losing my edge anyway.
Yeah, you gotta. It's like anything, you've got to keep up the chops.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I think we're going to be running out of time. Now, what's the best way for people to reach you? Is it on Facebook?
Yeah, I'm on Facebook.
Okay.
Robin Dawson on Facebook.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I don't want Zoom to cut us off. So, to the audience, you've been listening to Norman Dawson. He's an artist, and obviously he's a playwright as well. Check him out on Facebook, and hope you. Thank you, first of all, thank you for watching the show. I hope you continue to do so. Take care, everybody, and peace out.
Thank you, Nancy.
You're welcome.
A sense of community, Chilliwack's a place to be. A sense of community where you're free. Rolling through the mountains, rolling through the valley, rolling through paradise with me. It's multicultural, you're sure to see it all. Chilliwack's a place to be, you'll see. Come party in the park, go dancing after dark. Chilliwack's a place to be, you'll see.